Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Shit You Wish Your Building Did, a podcast where we take an unvarnished look at the technology in our buildings, both the good and the bad. In this episode, I'm talking to John Davies, retired Managing Director of TDSi, and we take a deep dive into the state of UK electronics manufacturing. How did John grow exports to 40% of their business? And how did he compete against larger and better funded competitors in China and the US? If you like the episode, there's a button specifically for that down below. Please click it. So let's jump right in. John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're happy to have you. So you're recently retired from TDSi.
Yes, I'm in my fourth week of retirement. So after 46 years of working, it was time to hang up my boots. So
well, good for you.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the whole of your career, of course. And I wanted to focus on TDSi because that's the company that I know best.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just start. Maybe you could tell us about because I think you came to the company in 2003, right? So maybe you could.
That's right.
What brought you?
I came to the company in 2003. A headhunter got in touch with me about an opportunity at Norbain. They were looking for an export sales manager and a brand manager for the Vista product, and I was being interviewed for that position. And then Alan John, who ran Norbain at the time, he decided that he wanted to split those two roles. He wanted an export manager and he wanted a Vista brand manager. And so he took me to one side and he said, "Look, I don't think either of those roles are good for you. But we've got another opportunity within the group. We bought this access control company called TDSi a couple of years ago, and we're looking for a new MD." And so I started to talk to him about that, talk about the company. And so I eventually, I think I started talking to Alan John, the guys at Norbain, in May or June of 2003, and I eventually joined TDSi in October of that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, when you say access control, you're talking about electronic systems.
Yeah, electronic systems. So basically controlling who goes through particular doors at what time of the day and what have you, what groups go through, and just controlling that access and different doors have got different levels of security. So some doors will have biometric readers on them, and other ones will just be sort of card-based systems. So
right. So anyone who works in an office will probably be familiar with that, with those kind of card-based systems for getting for access. Then, as I understand, then in 2005, so maybe about 2 years after you joined, then there was a management buyout.
Yeah, so it was quite strange actually, because when I first started talking to Alan John about the role at TDSi in 2003, I got a bit of a feeling that if there was an opportunity to buy the company, if it came along, I would go for it, because there were some fundamental things wrong with the business. It wasn't very profitable. Its cost base was too high. Then I think Norbain were owned by a private equity company, and they decided in early 2005, in late 2004, they decided that they wanted to divest the two manufacturing businesses that they owned. So Norbane owned Baxwell, who manufactured CCTV cameras, and TDSi, who manufactured the access control systems. I think the PE company that owned Norbane wanted to divest the manufacturing businesses, so then they could then go and sell the distribution business. And so in mid 2004, the guys at Norbane said, look, the guys at Siemens are sniffing around, or Bewater, we'd like them to talk to you about whether or not TDSi is going to become part of that group. So those discussions started, but Siemens were buying Bewater at the time. And so Siemens basically said, yeah, we're interested, but we're doing one acquisition right now, and we can't do anything until beginning of the second quarter 2005. I then took that as an opportunity to get my get some advisors together, and I actually proactively approached the board at Norbane and said, look, if you're looking to divest the company, I've been on board for 18 months now. I'll be interested in putting a deal together. And so I approached them at the end of October at an England-Australia rugby match at Twickenham. The chief finance officer said, you must be drunk, John. I said, no, but I only had 2 pints. I'm really interested. I'd like to put a bid in. And so I said, their board needed to talk about it. Anyway, they got back to me 4 or 5 weeks later and said, right, you've got 2 months to put a bid in. So this was I think I was told the beginning of December. And we needed to put a bid in place by, we needed to agree heads of terms by middle of January, which is what we did, and then we completed the deal at the end of February.
Great. So then you're now in charge of the business.
Yeah.
And you'd already seen some opportunities for improvement. So then what was then the process of, how did you make
so
those
basically changes? it was just looking at efficiencies within the business, looking where the types of staff, where they were deployed, the cost base in the business, not just from an employee point of view, but the office space that the business was in. It was a 26,000 square foot office, and we're only using 10,000 square feet. So it was, and there weren't subletting the rest. So it was about sort of breaking that lease or talking to the leaseholder and saying, look, I want to get out, and that's what we started doing. So just moving offices I took about 120,000 off the cost base of the business, straight away.
Okay.
Well, not straight away. It took 2 years 18 months to get out of the lease. And then it was about looking at the headcount in the business, where they were deployed, and basically looking at productivity and efficiencies within the business. So we started re-engineering the business as soon as I bought it in February of 2005. So when the financial crash came along in 2007-8, we were already lean and mean by that time. We'd gone through all the reorganization, so we just we were a lot fitter, and we could weather that storm, which was good.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I know then that when you took over, well, I think it was at that time you were doing exports around 25%.
Yeah,
And you grew that to 40%. So I'd be really interested if you can walk us through, the main ways you were able to do that.
Yeah, I think TDSi is It was an interesting business because they had an OEM deal. The company was founded in '82. They had an OEM deal with Chubb from '84, and Chubb took some of the readers and basically started selling that under their own brand across the world. So it was Chubb that initially took TDSi products overseas,
Okay.
and they had offices in Singapore and Hong Kong and Australia and what have you. And TDSi, when I came along, they were doing a lot of export into Europe, but they were just relying too much on the old relationships that Chubb had established in the 80s for business in Asia. And I'd spent 13 years of my life prior to being with TDSi, actually working in Singapore, Japan, China. So I knew those markets. I knew how those markets operate. I didn't know. I wasn't in access control or security at the time. I was working in oil and gas and environmental fields, but the fundamentals of business, I understood, and I just saw a huge opportunity for TDSi to basically, use the knowledge that I had of those Asian markets to actually further establish ourselves in those markets. So we started working very closely together with Panasonic. So I'd established a relationship with Panasonic in the UK initially with TDSi in 2004, and that was via the auspices of Secom. So basically we started working with Panasonic in Japan, and then Malaysia, and then Thailand. We had some very good guys working for a company in Hong Kong. TDSi started working in Hong Kong in 1995, but that company was bought by no, actually it was before 95. I think it was in the late 80s. But it was that distribution business was bought by Honeywell in the mid 90s, and the Chinese guys there didn't want to work for a big American corporate. They wanted to do stuff themselves, so they started selling TDSi. But the relationship that they had with TDSi back in the UK, it was more opportunistic rather than strategic. So I set about looking at trying to understand strategically what it was that those customers in Asia wanted or expected from TDSi and needed. And I set about changing the way that TDSi put its products together, or the features that we engineered into needed to be engineered into the product to be able to take advantage of opportunities that were coming up in China. So that's what I did. It was about listening to the customers and understanding what they needed and what we needed to do at TDSi to change our product in order to take advantage of opportunities that were coming up in various market segments within the Chinese and the Asian marketplace.
Okay. So I mean, things that I'm hearing there, like partnerships.
Yeah.
Listening to customers.
Listening was so important. I mean, a lot of a lot of companies make the mistake of thinking, right, I've got a great product, and it's selling well in the UK or it's selling well in Europe. I'm going to take that and I'm going to sell it to the Chinese, or I'm going to sell it somewhere else. If you don't listen to what your new potential customers want and need, they might want a different flavor. They might want the different nuances. Will have a different bearing on whether or not they you might think a feature is really important, but in their context is, well, I don't care about that, I want this. And so you have to listen, and you have to be willing to change your product in order to take advantage of the marketplace. And obviously, you have to sort of prioritize what you're hearing, and align those requirements with the potential size of the opportunities that you're looking at. So it's about ranking things and saying, okay, well, that particular feature might be interesting, but it's a one-off. It's not. It is going to be good for one particular project. I'll make a couple $100,000 out of it, but it won't be sustainable. So it was looking for what we needed to do to change our product in order to take advantage of sustainable opportunities within the marketplace. For 1, 3, 5, 7 years, that sort of thing.
Okay. One of the other things that I was thinking of as well is, like, obviously, access control, that's kind of electronics. It's a competitive market. There's a lot of different manufacturers, especially in China, and North America and Europe. What was it then that you were able to sort of carve out that export niche? Why were they choosing TDSi as opposed to going with one of the many kind of homegrown manufacturers?
Yeah, I think at the time, in the 90s and the noughties, there were some Chinese companies that we were competing against, but they didn't have the broad feature set that we did. They didn't have the integration capabilities. The pricing of the hardware was very good, very competitive, but they didn't have the soft side of things, which is on the software, which is where the solutions are engineered. And I think we spent a lot of time trying to make sure that our software and our systems were more easy to integrate to other aspects of the security system or a building management system, and we picked up that requirement from really listening to and drilling into what our potential customers wanted and needed. So we engineered that flexibility into our systems, and we also sort of came. We looked at what people like Honeywell were doing with ProWatch and Linnell were doing, and what have you. And these big enterprise systems, they had all the bells and whistles. They were able to do an awful lot of things, but the price point was very, very high. So we hit on very early that if we bring the price point of integration down, that will enable engineering companies and end users to engineer a solution more effectively with our system, then that would give us a unique selling point within the marketplace. So it was about bringing the price point down in order to make in order to go after a bigger size piece of cake. And if you're going after a bigger size piece of cake, there's lots of competitors, but no one could be everywhere at the same time. So it was just sort of carving out particular niches or segments within that cake, and saying, okay, we are going to specialize here. So in China, we specialized in the finance sector, in metro systems, with large commercials. So we had some very, very big companies like China Petroleum, We competed against Honeywell for the access control for China Petroleum's new corporate headquarters in Beijing. We won that because we had our system was more flexible, and we were actually talking to the engineering company that were engineering the system for the end user, and Honeywell were talking directly to the end user. So it was about understanding the dynamics of the marketplace and where the buying influence or the technical influence was, and so we spent a lot of time talking to end users, talking to systems integrators, and particularly systems integrators in China, the big integration companies, and making them feel that we wanted to make their job as easy as possible, and to give them the flexibility in front of their customers to be able to engineer anything and to integrate into different things. So we just engineered that flexibility, and that gave us the success that we were able to engineer.
So in order to close those sorts of deals, did you also have a sales team on the ground? How did you structure that?
Excuse me. Yeah, no, we had a very good partner. These were the guys that started working. They were Chinese nationals, but they were working in Hong Kong. And then they set their own business up, and they had a company in Shenzhen, and also in Shanghai and in Beijing. And it was those guys that had the relationships with particularly with the engineering companies. So in China, in those days, it was all about Guangxi, the connections, and those guys had the connections, and these chaps were early entrants into the security market in China. They've been doing it since the 1990s. So as time went on, a lot of the people they were dealing with in the 90s, they were promoted in engineering companies and what have you, and we were able to exert a lot more influence because of the connections that we had with those people. So we didn't need to establish initially our own office. We just worked through very good partners, and we listened to what those partners needed and wanted, and we weren't too. We didn't force them to sell a particular amount of systems every year. Again, we looked at we had a sort of medium term outlook. Every year we want to grow, but we're not going to tell you what we think you need to do and rap you on the knuckles if you don't do it. It's about very much working in partnership. So they weren't TDSi employees, but as far as I was concerned, I treated them as though they were, and they felt part of the family. It was a friendly relationship rather than just a commercial relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that I was thinking of as well was about, you mentioned earlier software and the importance of the integration, and that was sort of one of your USPs. So what was your approach to like innovation and research, spending on R&D? Because I could imagine that was an area where, let's say, some of the competitors might have been outspending you, right? Like as a small company, they've got
absolutely.
Deeper pockets.
I mean, they had deeper pockets, and so it was about basically what we did was allied what we were doing or wanted to do in the marketplace with how we wanted to set the business up and how we saw ourselves. And we saw ourselves as being, or as trying to enable ease of integration to other systems, and to provide people with the tools to enable that to happen. And we felt that was our yardstick. So we didn't want to. We wanted to engineer flexibility, and so we were always looking at tools that we could use that would engender and increase that flexibility. And so, if you listen to what's going on in the marketplace, there's loads of stuff happening, and it was, we just basically. Set our strategic direction, and if an opportunity came along and it didn't align with our own strategic intent, then we didn't invest any time in it. We spent. Basically, what we did was actually put what we call an NPDC process in place, a new product development committee. And basically we asked our partners, our employees, to throw ideas into the system, and it was a stage gate system. The first test that we had was that does this opportunity, whether it's technology or whether it's a new market, does that align with the strategic intent that we have for our business? If it does, then it goes to the next level. So how big is the opportunity? When is it going to happen? How much do we need to invest? Who do we need to partner with to make it happen? So, yes, we didn't have as deep of pockets as the Honeywells of this world, but we were more flexible when we started to look at, actually, we don't need to invent everything within TDSi. It's about who do we partner with to actually deliver a solution to a customer. So it was about looking at those, developing strategic relationships with other smaller businesses. To put offers in front of potential end users and potential markets. So it was you don't need to do everything in house. It's about true partnership, looking for partners and treating them in a friendly way rather than just a commercial way. It's finding like-minded companies and people and dealing with them dealing with them on a level that is that engenders mutual respect from both sides.
Yeah, no, a relationship building is so important still in business.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, 100%.
I had sort of a couple of final questions. First one, if you all that experience that you've gone through since 2003, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur now who's thinking about starting a electronic manufacturing business? Are there so let's say 3 things that stand out to you that they absolutely need to consider?
Okay, I think basically TDSi is a manufacturer, but the manufacturing capability is not within the TDSi business. It's done on a partnership level, and again, it's treating that partner as though they were part of your business, and so particularly within, because the access control market was so fragmented, and there so many competitors out there. Pricing in some markets, China, Middle East, very, very important. So it's about finding the right manufacturing partner that can help you engineer cost effectiveness within your product. So TDSi, when I came to TDSi in 2003, it had a manufacturing partner in the South Coast, a small business I moved it to a larger business in the Midlands, which was taken over by another business, but that company now is part of a global business. But the relationship that we have with that manufacturing partner is with the people that we started the relationship with back in 2005. And so, they help us engineer cost out of the product. They helped us with making sure that we were aware of component obsolescence. So I think if I had some advice to companies starting out, is that you don't need to do everything yourself. You need to find the right partners to do that with. I mean, Apple doesn't make anything, Cisco doesn't make anything, but they have good manufacturing partners, so they design systems with the partner that are easy to manufacture. And when you're designing a product, you think about not only the features of that product, but the designers that we have within TDSi. It's about, okay, think about how this product is going to be manufactured, and any cost in the design that's going to increase, or anything in the design that will increase costs. So you need to take that out. Or if it's too feature rich, and some of those features are nice to have, but not necessary for a larger market. So it's about taking an idea, taking a product, and looking at the best way that you can, or the best partners that you can use to take the most cost-effective product to market. So at TDSi, we designed systems, we marketed them, we sold them, we supported them. The actual manufacturing was done by someone else, but it was done in partnership, a long-term partnership with that partner.
Great, excellent point. John, have I missed anything? Is there something critical you think that was, responsible for the growth of TDSi that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. I think it's about, and again, you're talking about entrepreneurs looking to start an electronic manufacturing business. The thing with entrepreneurs, and I know because I am one, we kind of like the sound of our own voice. We think our trumpet's the most, it's the best trumpet in the world. It's the most tuneful thing. You've got to be able to be open to listen to other people that can help you, and don't think that you can do everything yourself, because you can't. You have to really look at what your own individual strengths are, and the company's strengths and weaknesses, and you need to find partners or other people that can help shore up those weaknesses, so you can be strong in the marketplace. And prior to TDSi, everything I've done, I've always competed against people, bigger organizations. And you shouldn't be frightened of that. If you think you have a product and you understand a market better than someone else, and you're small, you're more nimble, and you can actually take advantage of that. And then also, I think it's getting to the stage where, why did I sell TDSi when I sold TDSi? And I think it was in early 2017 when I basically sat down and thought, there are too many opportunities to go at that I'd like to go at, and my pockets aren't deep enough. And I was getting older as well, and I was thinking, I was thinking about, the people in the business and what's best for them, and what's best for the brand. And it was looking for a partner, to take it to the next to the next level, and that's why I started looking for for people, or potentially to buy TDSi, and that started in early 2017, and it finished in the middle of 2019. There were about 5 or 6 different companies that we dealt with. So I spent probably too much time with accountants and lawyers over that 2-year period, but that was interesting. But now TDSi is in a place where, as part of the Vitatech group, I think TDSi was the 5th or the 6th company that Vitatech bought. That was in middle of 2019, and COVID came along. I mean, if TDSi was still on its own during COVID, that would have been really, really tough. But as being part of a larger group, and the guys a group was saying, don't worry about everything. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do. You've got money to buy components to get stuff manufactured. So we never had any problems like companies like HID had with components going short.
Right.
We could see that was going to happen before it actually happened, and we had the money to be able to to do something about it. TDSi, if it was on its own, would never have been able to do that. So I think that there comes a time in the life cycle of all businesses where you need to be brave enough to say, I need some help. And actually looking at any stage in the business, even as a startup, is that there are things that that you can do, your skills that you have, but in order to take an idea to fruition, you're going to need some help. And I think it's being big enough to admit that you do need some help, and finding that right help. And working with the people, and being open and as honest with yourself as possible, and open and honest with the people that you have working for you. And so it's about not being selfish. It's about being as open as possible.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you for that, and look, thanks for sparing time to tell
My
the
pleasure.
TDSi story.
Thank
Very
you.
interesting.
Okay, thanks.
And everyone listening, again, thanks for taking the time as well. If you liked what you heard, then please share it and click the like button as well.
Okay,
John,
that's great.
bye for
Thank
now.
you.